Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? It is John the Ninja live in the dojo, aka the Dojang, aka the John the Ninja Studios. Concert number 22. Saw John Johnson finally realize his lifelong dream to see Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden, no less, at the world's most famous venue, Madison Square Garden, New York City, live, March 30th, 2016. This was definitely a coming of age moment for John. This was definitely a show John will never forget. And there's so many stories that come with it. So here's where John is at. It is the last month of college for John. 4 years. Having no clue what the hell he's doing. Biblical studies major. I have one big paper left, and I have this Iron Maiden concert. Now, Iron Maiden is on their Book of Souls World Tour, which almost didn't really happen because Bruce Dickinson, he ended up having throat cancer and was fighting that. So it was very scary. Nobody knew what was going to happen, but he, thank God, beat it, and he continued his venture, and the band released the album. Let me tell you something. John was ready. John was so ready. He pre-ordered the album, the double disc deluxe version with the, the booklet inside and all that. The lyrics too. And John, I don't even think I touched this for a good straight month. I just left it in the box, left it wrapped up, and then on the way home for one day, it must have been like probably 11 p.m. before I left school, heading back to New Jersey from Eastern University. I plugged it in, listened to it. Fell in love with it. Not at first. If Eternity Should Fail and the Red and Black really caught me, but Book of Souls and the other songs took a little bit to get it, but the more you listen to it, the more you appreciate it. Oh, what a wonderful album. Anyway, so this was my chance. I was not going to miss them. I missed Iron Maiden. The first time, unbeknownst to me, they did the Flight 666 tour. I didn't know about Maiden. That's where I got acquainted. And then they did the Final Frontier tour. I was a huge fan of that album. Mother of Mercy and the Final Frontier were really, really big songs to me. Still are to this day. They were great running songs when I was on the cross-country team. So John wanted to see them, and it didn't pan out. They were coming to places too far, or I had practice. It was something crazy. So I missed Maiden on that venture. And what was that, 2010, 2011 when that happened? So they come around. I miss them. So this time I'm going to see them. Ask who wants to go? Nobody. You know what? I saw Megadeth by myself. I'll go by myself and see this band. So I bought this ticket probably realistically for, good Lord, $400 something. I don't know where I got the funds for it, especially since I wasn't working at the time. But here it is, March 30th. 2016 in the pit. And I didn't know if I wanted to do the pit. I didn't know if I wanted, but I was like, no, this is Iron Maiden. I need to be up close, personal, and see what they're doing. So I bought the ticket. I had the album, and I just remember on the calendar at school, I had these two events. The final paper, this 20-page paper that was kind of like the end-all, be-all for 2 classes. It was the determining factor whether or not I would pass college or not. And then this concert to see Iron Maiden. So the day of, I made sure everything was ready. Had my shirt ready, had my ticket ready, had, everything I needed in the car ready to go. I went to class. I went to dinner. Actually, correction, it did end up being dinner, but I actually went to lunch, ate longer than I should have, ran to our room, made sure I had everything. Boom. I left from Eastern and I drove straight to New York City. And I listened to WMMR on the way, and I'm not going to lie, I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what it was going to be like. But I have a friend in New York. His name is John, too. We used to tell people, hey, we're brothers, because he used to go to Eastern, and we used to play pool all the time. We were thick as thieves. He told me to hit him up. We'll go out and eat and have a good time. So, cool. So I drive into New York City. I make it to the Big Apple. I'm there. I put the GPS for the Garden. I finally make it to the Gardens. It's probably like a 3-hour trip altogether. And since the show's at 7, I'm assuming I got there around 1. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm here. Finally see the Garden. I see where I need to park. There is a parking lot right across from Madison Square Garden. I said, perfect. I'll turn here. So I get to the next block. There's a cop. He's waving me. You can't turn in here. I'm like, you just let somebody else go. I literally just saw him let somebody else go, but I was like, okay, no problem. So I put in the GPS to go around to loop de loop because there was another parking lot. I just didn't trust it. It took me 2 hours. Again, I bullshit you not. 2 hours. I was pissed. I was like, God damn, traffic is terrible here. What the fuck? So I calmed myself down. I was like, okay, all right. Finally made it there, and I texted John. I said, hey man, I'm in New York. Where you at? He said, I'm at Times Square. Come meet me here. I said, okay. So I walked to the garden. I walked around a bit. I took it in. I'm like, oh, I'm in New York City. Cool. So I walked to where he was. He works at a tennis shop at the time. Worked at a tennis shop on Times Square in one of these really sketchy alleys. It was really cool. So I walk in, I see him, John Papito, how you doing? I give him a hug, and then I meet his boss. Now, the thing that was happening at the time was I was telling him what I was there for, how things were, and he asked me, did I get an interview with the opening band, who were the Raven Age, Steve Harris's son's band. And I told him, yeah, I sent them an email. They were so excited to talk to me. And then, today's the day and nothing. I had prepared an interview and all that. I was ready to go. And he's like, you know what? My boss used to be a rock star. He knows some people. I don't remember his name to this day. But he was like, yeah. So I met his boss, really flamboyant. Looked like he was in an 80s hair band. Had that look of a rock star from the 80s and spandex and all that. He wasn't in spandex, but he looked the part. And I told him, I was like, hey, yeah, you know the guys in Maiden? He's like, yeah, I used to tour, used to be a roadie with these guys. I know their whole crew. I was like, could you please text them, tell me what happened? He's like, yeah, no problem. Text them. He had a little, moxie about him. So he's like, yeah, man, did you try texting him? I'm like, texting him? No, I'm doing everything through email. I was like, yeah, man, you should try their social media. They said, they're not as responsive on that. I'm like, what the fuck? Ah! It's fine. It's fine. So then, I was like, okay. So me and John just ended up hanging out. He was telling me like how like famous people would come into the tennis shop and buy stuff because John's a big tennis dude. He's really good at it. As short as we are, he's great. So we walk in. He takes me throughout the city. I'm just enjoying the vibe. I'm hanging out with him. And he's like, all right, man, I'm going to go home. He's like, yo, man, it's a pleasure to meet you. I got to get back. They're probably going to start the line. So he's like, yeah, man, like, how far am I from the garden? Yo, you're like maybe 10, 15 minutes. What? Bro, I'm like in the pit. I got to get back. He's like, oh, my bad. I was like, damn. So my ass did this it was cool as hell, especially still being in shape from cross country. I did this very cool run monologue. I pretended I was in an action movie and my ass had to get back to the garden. I was hauling ass. I had the ticket. I had my earplugs. I had everything I needed on me. I was just running and people weren't asking no questions. I was like skirting. I was like, shit. And people just knew like, just get out of his way. It's really awesome to have that feeling like I was in an actual chase. So I get back there. The line's a little long, but it's not too long. It's not too bad. I'm like, okay, we're good. All right, thank you, God. Managed to get there in time. So I'm chilling, and it's a long wait. You got people from all over the world, people from South America, people from Ireland, people from Europe, like England, France, just in this line. And I was like, damn, this is really, really awesome right now. So while in line, there's a couple there and they're talking to somebody else, and the guy's talking about how like they saw Maiden before here and there, and they were going back and forth. And it turns out the guy's name was Mark H. Edwards. He was the lead guitarist for this band called Overlord. And I was like, hey man, I'm in a band. And he's like, I was like, yeah, it's like this is what I did. And we had a album that we put out that was like top of the charts in Germany, and I was so proud of that. I was like, bro, that's really cool. Can I get like your email contact, Facebook, and we'll talk? And he's like, yeah. One of his songs from Overlord actually ended up being a huge part of my intro. If you listen to it, and you'll hear it's the part where Dale Gribble's like, wait till my pastor hears about this. My God is a vengeful God. He is the reason that intro has that piece of music. I got to meet him. He was such a cool dude. I remember him talking about how they saw Fear in the Dark. It was, he's like, oh, he only did this one time. Bruce Dickinson had all the lights off, and then he would light a match, or he'd have like a lighter on, and he's just sitting there, and everything's completely dark. No cell phone cameras or anything. Just lighting his face in front of the whole crowd, and he just goes, Fear of the Dark. and all the lights turn off. It's really badass. And he hasn't done it since. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I also met a Spanish dude. We were talking back and forth. We're friends on Facebook now, but it was it was something just waiting. And then finally after, maybe an hour or so waiting, they start letting fans in. So we go into the corridor, they open the doors, we do security, we're all talking, et cetera, et cetera. And finally it's go time. It's like, okay, everybody with tickets, you're going to be this side, you're going to be in the front. So there's two barriers. You got the front and then you got the back. We're in the front. So it's like, okay. So I remember watching Flight 666 for Iron Maiden and seeing all these people running to the front. I was like, that's what I'm doing. As soon as they let us into the bowl, John Johnson was running his ass off to the front. Sadly enough, there were already people there. There was like 3-4 rows. I was like, fuck. But I made it. We're there. We're standing there. We're chilling. And now it's just the wait. And being in the Garden, I almost had an opportunity to go there with my dad for WrestleMania 20. Everybody knows that I saw the Royal Rumble in 2004 in Philadelphia, and I really wanted to go see WrestleMania 20. Torrie Wilson, Eddie Guerrero, that's where Chris Benoit won the World Heavyweight Championship. It was a very great event, and I missed it, especially The Rock. I've yet to see The Rock live. He's the last person I want to see in a wrestling context. I've seen every other one of my heroes and idols since then. So I took it in. I was like, wow, where I stand now, this is where Eddie Guerrero beat Kurt Angle. This is where The Rock and Mick Foley reformed. This is where Randy Orton was, Ric Flair, Triple H, all these greats in wrestling. And then I started thinking beyond wrestling. I started thinking about all the artists that performed at Madison Square Garden. Started looking at the Raptors, think of all the basketball players that played there, all the events, the history behind it. And it was just done. It was newly refurnished. And I was just seeing, there's like a hallway. If you're watching TV and there's a hard cam, that WWE always has like it pointing towards that hallway, whether or not that's the entrance or it's just, it's something that's there. And I was looking there. I was like, oh, that's where it is. And I just looked all around. I was like, wow, this is what the Garden's like. Knowing like there's a whole entire just crap under us, like under the floor. There's a whole setup of just stuff because you're pretty much walking upstairs. And I was like, wow, I was just so amazed. I took it in. So, this really tall basketball player was there. I want to say he played for NYC. Maybe that I just made that school up. I don't know. But if anything, he played for a D1 basketball school. I wish I got his name. I didn't. I wish I took a picture with him. My phone died. But, he was there. And he's 7 foot tall. And I'm just talking. I was like, bro, you're a Maiden fan? He's like, yeah. I'm like, bro, what's up? I don't know why I asked that, considering we were all there to see Maiden. But we started going back and forth. What's your favorite song? It's like, oh, I love The Trooper. It's like, that's a great tune, man. Bruce doesn't like singing that no more. He's like, yeah, they say that, but it's such a great tune. What about you? I'm a Wicker Man, man. I gotta go with the Wicker Man, I'm an Ancient Mariner, all those. He's like, yeah, that's good too. We were talking, we were conversation. We started talking about basketball, and then we just ran out of things to talk about. I was like, all right, man, I'll see you soon. All right, cool. So the Raven Age came out. And they did pretty good. I wasn't mad at them that, I should have had an interview with them or anything like that. But they, they did their thing. They did a good, solid set. And they threw a pick in our area. And these, once again, people fighting over picks, started swinging and shit. I saw the pick, put my foot on it, and didn't do anything. Everyone was swinging and fighting and shit like that. I was like, all right, cool. As soon as afterwards, I picked it up, got a Raven Age pick. Now, they did their thing. After the set, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should give this to somebody. So I gave it to somebody. He's looking at me. He's like, you want? I was like, you want? He's like, yeah, it was cool. I was hoping I made his day. So this is where it got interesting. So, I'm pushed a little to the front. It's just me by myself. And there's a very, very pretty girl in front of me. And we started talking. I don't know what the hell happened for us to start chatting. But we started talking. I was like, hey, how you doing? She's like, oh, good. So what, how long did you know about the show? Were you supposed to go with anybody? She's like, well, I was supposed to bring my brother, but he bailed on me. I was like, oh, really? Tell me about that. Well, I'm an artist. Okay, she's an artist. She probably plays, doesn't make that much money in my head, I'm saying. And me and my brother grew up with this band. I love them. And I said, hey, listen, I'll buy your ticket and I'll fly you out. And she was like, yeah, cool. But he didn't. So I had to bite the ticket and the airfare. So she bought his ticket from LA to New York City, bid that ticket, and that ticket cost me $400 at resale at Ticketmaster. It's supposed to be, 125, but I'm sitting here like, oh, so you're that kind of artist. You make that kind of money. I started doing my hair, like, all right, you that kind of art, like, you'll put my cologne on. So we started talking. We started having really good conversation. It's like, hey, okay. So, we were talking about, music, interests. She was right across the bridge in New Jersey, and we were connecting. John was not smooth with the ladies in college, mainly because they were all sheltered Christian women, and John's, as Christian as I am, I'm pretty brutally honest with reality. So I'm not doing well at school, but this is the first time, probably in a really long time, I'm connecting really well with an individual that is of the opposite sex. So I'm taking this in. I'm like, this girl's really awesome, and she's an artist. How old are you? Oh, she's under 35. I'm doing so good. And I just remember she was a small little thing, black hair, just a little shorter than me, but just really cute. And we're waiting for Maiden to come out. We're waiting. She offered me some water. I was like, oh no, thank you, I appreciate it. So the band comes out. It's showtime, and I'm behind her at this point, and I'm doing my damnness. Oh God, I don't know if this helped or didn't. I'm doing my damnness not to touch her because boundaries. I don't know her, but I'm also protecting her because people are not marching, but they're pushing each other to get closer to the band. So I'm like kind of like doing this instead of just doing this like normal guys do. I'm doing this, like trying not to touch her and stuff. Getting hit this way and that way. Trying to protect her, but before that, it's like, we're watching and Bruce comes out, you got the smoke, and he's like, shout of the damned, draw for the taking, here is the son of a man. And then the, bam, and they just fire into If Eternity Should Fail. And then the Maiden comes out, and it's the first time seeing them, so I'm not really, like, going crazy like I would. Usually when I see artists that I really love for the first time, I'm just I'm in a calmer mood. I'm not freaking out. I'm not going crazy for everything. I'm happy to see it, but I'm just like, oh, okay, take it in. You finally seen them. This was the last night thought I had was like, don't geek out too much. Just take it in. How fortunate you are. How blessed you are to see Iron Maiden at the Garden. Oh, and they were going through songs, and the one thing I remember, I was like, oh man, they're playing these songs that I never thought I'd get to see. Like Children of the Dam was a big one. They played Tears of a Clown, and just recently, oh man, think about it. Robin Williams just killed himself not too long ago, and they dedicated to him, and it's like this one's Tears of the Clown, and then they played The Red and the Black, which is a song I really love from that album. It's got one of their best riffs ever, and there's just so much you could say about that song. And then they played The Trooper, Power Slave, Death for Glory. They even talked about Trump. It's like, hey, I know things are tough. I hope we don't vote. Correction, because they're British. I hope you guys don't vote for Donald Trump and people like him, stuff like that. Just ripping Donald Trump. But just seeing Maiden play, and they played Hallowed Be Thy Name, which is really big because that tour, they were sued by an individual saying there was a copyright infringement. So they played at that, and then the second leg of the tour, they didn't play Hallowed Be Thy Name, which is a huge Maiden mainstay. People all around the world go to see that song. That's one of their, this is the best Maiden songs ever, and etc. So for me to see that on that tour before that whole fiasco happened was pretty big. They played Fear of the Dark. They played Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast. I remember me being the pit, me being short. I would only see the band at certain moments. And to this day, I think, and I always attribute it to God, the parts of the show that I saw I was meant to see. Because there was a part where, Janet was running around and dancing. I always love it. I picked the right side of the stage, or at least audience right, band left. I picked it because I wanted to see him do his thing. And then it's like every right moment for a certain solo, I wanted to see the crowd, because I'm a short guy. The crowd would open up, and I wouldn't have to do this or that. It would open up, and I'd see Dave Murray do the solo for The Trooper. just like no interruption. I'd see Janik do his solo. I'd see, if Adrian was in the middle, Adrian Smith would play. I'd see him, and it's not like I'd see the whole band easily, but I just remember seeing like, wow, I got to see the parts I needed to see. If Bruce was doing the little scream over there, I'd see it. It's just so cool to see that band. And Janik is a madman. He's fun as hell. So there was a jackass there. He crept in between me and her, and now we're standing like this, and he would just put his elbow like this to keep people away, and he was on the barricade. I was like, yo, bro, you put your elbow down, it hurts. He was like, I was like, yeah, bust his fucking ass. What a dick. I remember him with glasses, jacket. I'm like, bro, come on, don't be like that. But anyway, me and her, just again, still try not to hit her. She's looking back at me every now and again. I don't know that girl's name, but she was pretty. I will give her that beautiful face. So, just bang, 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 watching this. And there was a part with Blood Brothers. The crowd backed off a little bit. We had more room. And he was like, there's crazy times in the world. A lot of shootings happen. A lot of people dying. And he was like, we're all blood brothers. We're all here as one. We are my blood brother. And we were singing Blood Brothers. And me and two Spanish dudes, they had their flags. I don't know if it was Colombia or Uruguay or whatever. But we were singing, Blood Brothers. And I just grabbed them and they had their phones out. So we were singing together. Me and this dude like, we're blood brothers. On like Facebook Live. We're blood brothers. Really, really awesome moment. Just singing with people I don't know. Spanish dudes that didn't speak a lick of English. And my Spanish is atrocious at this time. I know words. Like I could at least start a conversation now. I didn't know nothing in 2016. So they ended it with Wasted Years. And not my favorite song to end on, but it was a great song to sing to. Like, son, won't you stay? So I saw Iron Maiden. I did it. And the show's about to end, and I'm in my head at this point because I know it's near the end. The girl's still there, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I should. I have my car. She's taking the subway home. She told me that. Why don't I offer to give her a ride home? Now I have a test in the morning at Eastern University for Dr. Enns. Dr. Enns is no BSer. He's a very smart man, and he grades pretty fairly. And if I didn't study, which I didn't, I'm gonna get my ass kicked on this pop quiz / test. But here's a pretty girl who needs a ride home, so I was like, you know what? I could ask her if she wants a ride home in my car. Yeah, that's a good idea. I don't see a problem with that. You know what? What if she invites me in the house? That wouldn't be too bad. I could stay for an hour. If she wants me to have a drink. At this point, I got so far in my head, I convinced myself, you know what? If I wake up on her couch in the morning, I call that a win. I didn't even convince myself like, oh, there's a possibility me and her could go to bed together and sleep together and have a good night. No, that's not even where my head was at. My Christian sheltered ass is sitting here like, you know what? If I just sleep on her couch, that'll be a win. Yeah. So this is the part that blows my mind. Not even thinking like, oh, I'm gonna get laid. No, I'm gonna sleep on a strange lady's couch and just give her a ride home. Not that I'm a bad guy for thinking that, but just, it really like total opposite of the rock and roll lifestyle that I should be trying to live. So that's where I'm at in my head. The band's walking off, they're doing the waves and goodbyes and all that. And, I'm like screaming, Nico, throw me a stick, throw me a stick. Nothing, throws it here, throws it there, but nothing. Okay, no problem. Janik's talking to a guy in the crowd. I was like, you want the guitar? Yeah, yeah. And they caught the guitar. It's like, sorry, next time. They laughed about it. They left, and that was it. The band left. They said their goodbyes. I was like, okay, I see the girl still. Mind you, we're metal here. 1, 2, 3. I'm 3, she's 2. Band's leaving. I was like, okay, so after they do that, I'm like, okay, I'm going to ask her. So I look at her. I was like, yeah, that was a really great show. She's like, yeah. I look up. All right, cool. I look again. Gone. Disappeared. Fuck. I'm like, what the fuck? I turn around. I'm looking. Listen, joking aside, I will never laugh at a parent or anybody that loses a child. That's how it feels. That moment where I looked up and down, literally like this, gone. disappeared. I was like, and it's a crowd of people. Like, I can't find her, and I'm just like, I was so, oh my goodness, I'll never forget. I felt the blood just drain out of my head. I felt flustered. I felt so pale. I was just like, God, I did a little prayer too. I was like, Lord, I, I, I don't know what to think about this. I don't know if this was you, but if this was you and this was for a reason, please, let me see somebody I saw earlier. Let me talk to somebody. Like, let me know that I'm okay, that this was a good thing. And then out of nowhere, this tall 7-foot basketball player that plays in the NCAA D1 magically appears in a whole crowd, taller than everybody. Didn't see him for the whole show, haven't seen him since. Magically appears. I see him, I was like, damn it! I know it was you, God! Oh man, I was just like, fuck. Okay, God, whatever. Your plan, whatever. So I talked to him. I was like, bro, great show. He's like, yeah, man, that was fantastic. You got Facebook? Yeah, I don't even know if I have friends on Facebook. I know we exchange numbers or whatnot, but I walked out, and that feeling of losing that girl, I was like, damn, that's real bittersweet. Fucking, hey, that sucks. So I sat down. I was like, God, thank you for the experience. I got to see Iron Maiden, and I relaxed. I took it in the last time I was at Garden, and fortunately for me, I was like, I don't know the next time I'll be here, so let me take it in. So a lot of the Maiden crew were taking things away. People you see all the time on the Iron Maiden videos and etc. that working in the crew, they were working on it. Did my last little look around. Said, okay, I will be back, hopefully to perform. And I started walking down the stairs, and I was like, okay, I gotta get something made. And people are still singing Maiden songs, Maiden. So I just had to buy this Iron Maiden Book of Souls World Tour flag and take it home with me. I didn't even take it out the wrapping until the next time I saw Iron Maiden. I just kept it in there, and I was like, okay, cool, whatever. So after that, I walked outside. I was like, it's 12 a.m. It's, good night in New York City. Let me walk around a bit. So now I'm in New York City. I'm walking around, and I had this thought, and I quote this every time. I felt safer in New York City at 12 a.m. in a very shady sidewalk with people looking at me than I did in Philadelphia during the day. I always pick Philly over it, but I just remember I was like, damn, that dude's really eyeballing me over there, and I feel pretty damn safe. This is crazy. So I was walking back and forth. It was real fun. Just, I even talked to a friend of mine, Jesse Martinez. I hadn't heard from him in a long time. Me and the guys always get together and watch WrestleMania. So he called me. He's like, hey, man, what are you doing? I was like, hey, man, it's been a long time. Like, damn, I haven't heard from you. He's like, yeah. We spent like an hour on the phone. I kept on walking past the Empire State Building. And finally, I was like, okay, maybe it's time to go home. Because I didn't want to go into a bar or a strip club and all that because I knew how expensive New York was. I'm like, damn, I really don't have that money right now. So, I walked back to the car, took a little bit of a nap, and driving in New York at night is totally different animal. It was a smooth trip. So I got back, I started driving all my way to Philly as soon as, WMMR started picking up. I was like, cool. And then I was like, let me call in the Jackie Band. But Jackie's on. I called and I was like, I don't want to call. So I hung up and then he called me back. I was like, hello? He's like, hello. Well, you called me, motherfucker. I was like, oh, it's Jackie Band. He's like, Ninja, how was the show? I was like, it was great, man. And then he had me, he does this like mandatory Maiden for his You Call It Friday night. And he had me do the intro for it. If I can find that, I'll definitely let you listen to it. But it was a feel good moment that I needed because after losing that girl, oh man, I was just so shit. So with that said, I made it back to school, fell asleep, felt so accomplished, and then I walked into class that morning, got my ass handed to me for that test. So I ended up telling one of the guys at the WYBF station, like Jumpin' Joe Stevens, about it. And I was like, yeah, man, I went to the show. He's like, oh, that's awesome. What happened to that girl? I was like, I don't know. I was like, I was there. She was there. She was pretty. And he's like, you know what, man? Maybe you missed dodged the bullet because he told me a story about his friend who was in love with a girl for years, was begging for her, trying to get with her, and then finally did. And he was so happy, and then, boom, got herpes. I was like, I don't know if that's what God was having me dodge, but either way, I'm thankful. Thank you, Jesus. I doubt that girl had herpes. I pray she doesn't, but either way, it made me feel a little better. But hearing that story, it's like, you know what? God's plan. Before I even started saying God's plan. So let's go through the set list. Let's see what I saw that night. The Raven Age played Uprising, Promised Land, The Death March, I Among the Blind, The Merciful One, Salem's Fate, and number 7, Angel in Disgrace, which isn't a bad song. I was playing them a lot at WYBF trying to get that interview. Now, time for Maiden set list. Maiden set list, If Eternity Should Fail. Love that song. I love playing it on drums. Speed of Light, Children of the Damned, Tears of a Clown with a tribute to Robin Williams. The Red and the Black, The Trooper. Love that song. Power Slave, which is a big one too, being that I'm such a big fan of that album. That's my favorite Iron Maiden album. Death or Glory, The Book of Souls with a mention of the Mayans. Hallowed Be Thy Name. Longer bars. Now this is something I noticed, because when they play that song at the end, there's a right before the end, and I always love that part where they're going that part. Bruce Dickinson does the little lifts and he makes the crowd scream and all that. So what I mentioned in it is they did it longer than usual. I think they do it like 2-3 times. Yes, like 3 times, but they did it extra times. They did at least maybe 1 more time, so that's probably 4, and that stuck with me. I was like, yeah, that's awesome. Then they did Fear of the Dark, another great song. Iron Maiden, a big thing. I got to see Steve Harris do the solo. I'm a big fan of that bass solo, and I never really got it. You know, I know how to play one that might sound like it, or this is my version of it, but everybody, you know, tells you how he plays it. This is the way I play that Iron Maiden solo. Now, of course, I may have done that solo wrong, but for most part, that's how I play it. That's what I've created from what I've heard, from what I've seen, you know, just the little things I pulled. But I got to see him do it. I was like, finally. So they played Iron Maiden, came back out, played Number of the Beast, played Blood Brothers, and then played Wasted Years, and then that was it. Iron Maiden was done. I drove back, I did it, and then the next big venture in my life was to graduate college. I did that 20-page paper. I did it last minute. Thank God. Because what happened was, I'm there, I'm typing. There's a deadline. And it's for Dr. Enns. Again, he's playing no games. You turn it in on time or it's not accepted. You're better to turn in half and then take a poor grade than not to turn in at all. So I'm typing. I have the website on my page ready to go. And it hits 11:59. Fuck it. This is it. I think I made it to like 19, maybe 20, with like 1 word on page 20. I saved it. I loaded it, tried sending it. Fucking froze. God damn it! So I refreshed the page, loaded it again. I am hitting send. I'm sweating bullets. I'm like, God, please let this happen. Click, successfully sent, 11:59. As soon, on the dot, as soon as it said that, 11:59, it clicked 12. I was like, yes! Yes! Ah! Thank you, God! Oh, I did it! Yes! Woo! I narrowly, by seconds, grace of God, sent in my final paper on time. And I was ready to party. Now, unluckily for me, everyone was already done partying. They partied that weekend. I turned that paper in on a Tuesday, and you know, when I was about, you know, let's go to the bar, let's grab drinks, everybody was studying for a final test or finishing up their papers. I was like, fuck. So that was quite an epic journey. Iron Maiden number 22, concert number 23, the MMRBQ at the BB&T Pavilion with 6 a.m. Wolf Mother, Collective Soul, 3 Doors Down, Shine Down, and Disturbed. Till next time, guys, please let me know, did you see Iron Maiden at Madison Square Garden Did you see him on the Book of Souls tour? Did you enjoy it? Like, share, subscribe. As always, my fellow rock stars, I need your help so I can afford to get that light to stay on instead of flickering on and off. As always, God bless you guys. It's always a pleasure, and thank you. Till next time.